Hello and welcome back everybody to the Food Build Factory, where today we're going to take a look at the drum mech Dreadnaught. That's the guy you can see on screen right now, and as always I'm going to show you some gameplay in the first half of the video, and in the second half of the video we're going to take a look at the perks, mutations, equipment and everything else. Furthermore, happy Fastnacht everyone. Just kidding, by the way, Bethesda, if you see this, please give us new content rather than just the 500th iteration of Fastnacht. It really just bothers me at this point how often this event comes. And yeah, I just feel like even though it's a running event, still the little bit of effort Bethesda puts into it is too much. Like, imagine, rather than creating 3 new Fastnacht masks, they could give us a cool weapon skin or something. But anyways, I digress. So what this character is going to be about is something we haven't done in a while. We're playing as a power armor heavy gunner, so in and of itself, nothing too crazy here. The most interesting part about it is probably that we are playing completely without mutations, which is something I very rarely do, and in fact I mention oftentimes that in Fallout 76 there simply isn't a simple reason to do this, to be honest, other than role-playing, and maybe if you want it for gameplay reasons, which is what I done on this occasion. Quite simply, no matter which kind of build you're playing, there's always going to be mutations that would enhance your playstyle. If anything, like just Marsupial and Speed Demon are always great. But yeah, on this occasion I really wanted to go for a kind of veteran, like a war veteran, born before the war and serving in the military before the Great War. And yeah, in addition to that, I really wanted to, or not in addition to that, but because of that, I really wanted to make him look like decked out in top tier military equipment. So one thing I did is just quite simply used T60 armor. Now there's some debate here and there, like some people still say, oh, T60 was kind of developed by the Brotherhood of Steel or something, but yeah, in fact in Fallout 4 in the opening scene we see that guards are guarding the vault with T60 armor and heavy weapons. Now, one thing I could have done is I could have gone for something like a minigun. That's something you see in use on pre-war military guys. You never really seen any pre-war military guy with a light submachine gun like I'm using here, but I still feel like yeah, it fitted rather well, and it gives me the opportunity to show off something I really wanted to do for quite a while now, which is showing you a quad version of the LMG. Now, in and of itself, when they announced that quad can now drop on heavy weapons, I wasn't too hyped, to be honest. Like, for example, I'm still seeing people pay a lot on online markets for stuff like quad miniguns, which I, to this day, don't really understand. Like, it just literally doesn't really add anything to the weapon. They have such high ammo capacity already that yeah, there's just literally no reason to ever go for it. But if there's one heavy weapon, like other than the plasma caster maybe, or the harpoon gun, but one of the weapons that couldn't previously drop with quad but now can, where it's actually useful, it's the LMG in my opinion. Now, I still in a lot of situations would probably prefer something like an anti-armor version or something like that, but it's undeniably a lot of fun to use it, and it can actually improve your DPS quite significantly when you're fighting tougher stuff like Scorch Beasts or so. Now, that being said, you're losing out on quite a lot of damage because you can't use something like Executioners or Anti-Armor, Aristocrats, you get the point. But still, I think it's just a ton of fun. I really liked it. The only version I used we're kind of stuck here by the way, just let me go into first person and see if we can get out here. We managed to. The only quad version I have used in live service so far has been a quad limb damage version, and even that was just pretty good. Like, the thing is, and we have an interesting visual glitch here with the jetpack, so just wanted to use it again, and yeah, there the guy is. We're here for you, by the way. Yeah, even the quad limb damage version was already pretty good, and let's just see if we can get this guy to land. Looks like it. And yeah, with that ammo capacity, this is the first time we'll probably see a benefit from it. So yeah, just spray and pray here basically. So if you can see it down there, I think that the standard version of the LMG has something like 75 ammo capacity, at least something along those lines. But yeah, we have burned through something like 100 or so for the Scorch Beast. So with the standard version, we probably would have killed him in a single mag too, just because we would have something. Would have had some more damage with something like anti-armor, or as I previously mentioned, executioners or so. But that being said, yeah, going against the Scorch Beast Queen or Earl Williams, you can just mag dump them and really get a lot of damage out. So overall, yeah, I wanted to show it off. As I said, I have used the quad limb damage version before, and even that was a ton of fun. But what I went for here is a quad explosive version. We have faster movement speed while aiming, which I mean is faster movement speed while aiming. So interestingly enough, we have a second Scorch Beast here, which is rather rare, but luckily this guy decided to land pretty quickly. Now if I can manage to zero in on the head a little bit better, that would do tons for our damage output. But yeah, not a mutant hound. As you can see here, the damage output of this thing is just amazing. It really shreds enemies apart. The real big elephant in the room here, and that's always something that bothered me with the LMG, is just, yeah, the ammo consumption. That's really the one thing that balances this weapon, because let's be real here, if this thing was more ammo efficient, by let's say you can craft 308s in 500 a go or something, that would really make the weapon overpowered in my eyes. Like, there would not be any good reason to use another heavy weapon ever again, probably, unless you really wanted to, just for aesthetic reasons or so. So yeah, that's the balancing factor here. And one thing I wanted to stress is, yeah, I do have another version, which is a quad faster fire rate, which I just crafted here. And as I said, I am on a custom world, or I didn't really say it, but I pretty much made it clear previously. I'm on a custom world, so I just crafted or re-rolled basically the weapon, and there you are. I just thought that there's something going on here. This guy has the Fallout 76 equivalent of plot armor, which is environmental armor. So, I mean, he's not really a threat. We could just move on, but at this point I'm taking it personal. So yeah, he had to go down. And yeah, back to the topic. Yeah, I crafted, or I re-rolled a primed version of this weapon with, ended up having quad faster fire rate. And after that I wanted to use another one to get quad explosive, because one thing I do have with this character, which I glad I mentioned so I'm not forgetting it, I included using grenades just because I thought it was fitting the whole military vibe relatively well, and it's something I not often do. So therefore I already had Demolition Expert and wanted to go for an explosive version rather than a fire rate version of the weapon, and crafted it and re-rolled it. And yeah, as I was finally done, like it took me like half an hour or so just straight up re-rolling this thing, I realized that it wasn't primed, which is something I really wanted to use, a primed barrel, and yeah, on this occasion, on this character, I can't craft it. So yeah, we are using a non-primed version of the weapon, so standard version. And yeah, as I said, that's something I didn't really want to do, for the simple reason that if you ever decide to go for an LMG in any build, it's probably always the better option to go for a prime version of the weapon, for the simple reason that it makes ammo way more efficient to craft. Which sounds counterproductive, but it's actually, it works like that on a lot of weapons. So I mean, obviously you need the flux, which is kind of a problem, but just the higher amount of rounds per craft you do get is tremendous. Like without any perks on this occasion, just because I am on a custom world and didn't really want to bother to swap in perks and so on, I was able to craft 21 308s in one go. And yeah, using ultrasight or crafting ultrasight rounds, it was like way different. We had 130 or so ago. So yeah, just if you have stuff like Ammo Factory and everything, factoring in Ammo Factory, ammo smith, and I mean, super duper is nice, but doesn't really increase the amount exactly. Yeah, you can get up to like 300 or so ultrasight 308s in a single round of crafting. I mean, which is just way more efficient. And on top of that, it also just makes your weapon more powerful. So there's really no good reason to ever use this as a non-primed version, unless you fucked up like I did here. So keep that in mind. Potentially you even have a little bit more damage output, but that's not really the problem here. Just, yeah, if you want to do this, go for a primed version. And overall, I think you can see the point of this build. It's just playing the game on easy mode, basically. We're not particularly spec'd into tankiness, so we have like 7 or 8 endurance. I think it's 7. We didn't really do a whole lot in terms of defensive perks. It's just the fact that we are in power armor, and yeah, that's basically it. And the fact that we can drop enemies so quickly just makes it that, yeah, we do get hit all of the time, but rarely has an enemy time to really do damage to us. In between fights, we do have regeneration going on just from our power armor. As I said, we have no mutations whatsoever, and you can keep an eye out for it, probably between the time we kill the last guy here, and I let myself being a little bit damaged here so you can actually see it a little bit better. And yeah, once I killed him, in between the time we are here and going to the Blood Eagles camp and are in danger again, you will see we have some slight regeneration going on from our armor. It's something I wanted to revisit. I have actually shown it off in another build, but yeah, I have a full set of regenerating armor here, which is just an effect I never would really care for if I am on a standard build, because if I care for passive regeneration, the healing factor mutation in and of itself is so much faster than a full set of regenerating armor. But since we're not having any mutations, and there wasn't actually anything I was particularly worried about when it comes to my armor, so for once we don't really need any powered gear. We're not making excessive use of action points, except for maybe the jetpack. But since we don't have bird bones and anything, the jetpack isn't really something we do use in order to really jump around like crazy. It's basically just here to offset the fact that we don't have marsupial, which is especially useful once you're getting to the Cranberry Bog area or so. A lot of you probably know, but haven't really thought about that for quite a while. Remember back in the time when you first played this game and first went to the Cranberry Bog and fell into a ditch. You didn't really know what marsupial was at the time, and yeah, you hadn't had a jetpack on your armor and so on. It's just a mess. It makes traversing Appalachia way easier to have jetpack or a marsupial, or ideally both. But yeah, that's the reason we have a jetpack here. And yet again, we didn't really need anything else, to be honest, like in terms of modifications. So yeah, that's why it's here. It also looks cool. I mean, that's undeniably true ever since Fallout 4. Having a jetpack on your power armor is just crazy cool. But yeah, we just use it for these occasional bursts in order to just move around a bit better. And for that, we don't really need any crazy action point refresh or so. And yeah, that all being said, it's a very straightforward build, and I didn't really miss anything. So that's the whole reason why I thought, well, this one could be one of those builds where I go without mutations for once, and it really does enhance the feeling of the slow moving but heavy firepower military tank unit. It sounds a bit dumb, but really, yeah, whenever I am in power armor and do have marsupial, it's obviously fun, but it's a bit immersion breaking. And I mean, immersion is always kind of a very objective thing. Like, I mean, there's so much immersion breaking stuff, but yeah, you get the point, I think. So we have a little bit of a glitch here, which is sometimes, yeah, when with heavy weapons you're just getting stuck in the aiming animation, but didn't really take too much, just sprinting for a second or so. And yeah, overall I think you can see the regeneration from our regenerating armor, while it isn't the craziest thing in the world, it makes it so in between fights we pretty much always end up back at 100% health. In addition to that, we do have electric absorption, of course, because we are in power armor, and that means that energy damage can heal us. So yeah, we're just pretty tanky overall. And maybe you noticed I'm not talking a lot about the weapon, but that's just because, yeah, it's a quad explosive LMG, it's just good. Let's be real. To be honest, as I said, in most situations the quad effect probably isn't necessary, but yeah, as I said, if there's a heavy weapon where it can be useful, it's the LMG, just because it has such a high fire rate and a relatively low ammo capacity compared to other heavy weapons. And that's basically the whole reason. So for example, I have shown a quad explosive 50 cal once, which was also fun but completely unnecessary, and especially on miniguns I just find it kind of ridiculous. But yeah, I would have liked to shown off a little bit more of our grenades here, but I kind of forgot about that. Now usually we forget one or two enemies here, so maybe we will find another one. For once I'm actually seeking them out now, rather than just starting to talk about the build and then being surprised by them. So yeah, there they are. Okay, this was a little bit... Let's just go all over the place. This might be fun. Orbital strike beacons. I would argue that this was probably a little bit overkill, and god damn it, we're stuck. Alright. Die, doggo. I'm not quite sure how we got stuck here, to be honest. Probably we were pushed back a little bit by the explosion or anything, but yeah. I didn't really want to bother to now try to get out. Usually there's a way to get out, but yeah. Flip it. And what a nice spawn. So here we have a floater, there's another... Oh, let's not use the orbital strike beacons now, but go for a Murph grenade. Now, in terms of grenades, we're also not set up perfectly. Usually I would like to have something like junkies or anti-armor on my weapon so that I can get bonus damage on my grenades from that effect. But it doesn't really matter, to be honest. I went for two very potent explosives, so yeah, for general use they are nice. And yeah, I think that was it in terms of gameplay. I hope you enjoyed it so far, and now we're going to take a look at the perk itself, taking another look at our beautiful guy here. And yeah, let's start off with our mutations. Surprise, surprise. There are none, so this time around that went quickly, right? Taking a look at our equipment, and starting off we have our Murph grenades, which I've, well, not shown but talked about. I really like Murph grenades for the simple reason that they are so easy to maintain. A nice supply of, just because, yeah, frag grenades are very often dropped by enemies, and which are the core component for crafting Murph grenades. And orbital strike beacons, every now and then I do craft a few of them. They do need flux to craft, so they are rather expensive, but I just find them especially cool. Now, they're, as I said, not the most efficient thing to craft, but I really like them. I mean, you saw it with the whole laser BPUs, and so, like, it's really cool. And here we have basically the corner piece of the build here, a quad explosive, faster movement speed while aiming LMG. Also known as MG42, which I have seen in the past people say like, oh, that's not true, that's not how it's called in Fallout 76, and I'm pretty sure it is actually, because the plan for this thing, if you want to craft it, is called MG42. So yeah, I might be wrong there, but I'm pretty sure that's how it is. Anyways, yeah, in terms of modifications, you can't do anything to this guy other than prime it, unless you, as I mentioned earlier, fucked up. So yeah, not a lot to say about that either. In terms of condition, it's holding together pretty good, but I do have rank 4 of gunsmith, which we will see in a few minutes. But that being said, yeah, it's definitely maintainable without big worries. And yeah, in terms of ammo, that's something noteworthy here. We went through around 1,000 to 1,500 shots during the video, so that being said, that's quite hefty. I mean, it's not hard to maintain ammo if you're really dedicated to it, but this is definitely one of these builds. If you want to main an LMG, farming or buying ammo is definitely something you just have to deal with. That's all I'm saying. And yeah, other than that, not a lot to say here. You saw it in action. here is the other version I would have wanted to use, but yeah, I already explained why I didn't. In my opinion, the faster fire rate version is even a little bit more fun, but anyways, let's move on. Our armor, and as I said, we do have a full set of T60. The helmet has internal database for a little bit more intelligence. Then we do have the regenerating set of armor, and it's just a one-star set. One-star set. As I said, I didn't really want anything else here necessarily, and yeah, nothing else noteworthy. In terms of the torso, we obviously have a jetpack, as you saw, and in terms of the legs, they're calibrated for more carrying weight. That's it. One interesting thing here maybe is the stats, because for once we have actually pretty high intelligence. Now obviously for some of the power farmers among you, this is rookie numbers here, but for general like gameplay, this is actually quite high. Like this is really solid amount of intelligence for leveling up without any buffs or so. So that's maybe noteworthy. And yeah, that was basically it in terms of equipment. Yet again, we went through that pretty quickly compared to other builds, and I'm just noticing, by the way, that one of my legs is level 40 for some unholy reason. But yeah, we made it through the video alive anyways. So that being said, taking a look at our perks here, and starting off with strength 14, all the heavy gunner perks maxed out. In addition to that, we do have lock and load, and we do have bandolier. Now bandolier is a pretty obvious choice here, as is the heavy gunner perks, just because yeah, more damage and carrying a ton of ballistic ammo, we obviously want to have bandolier. As I said, in terms of damage we want to have the heavy gunner perks, and then we come to one perk that actually, yeah, this is not necessary. Lock and load, just giving us faster reload, for the simple reason that yeah, due to having a quad version of this weapon, you can make it through pretty much every single fight, with some exceptions, without having to reload in between, so reload time isn't really a concern. Still though, since we're not having any mutations like Speed Demon, on this occasion the reload actually is rather fast if we don't have anything, and it just made it a little bit more satisfying to use lock and load in my opinion. But keep in mind there are definitely other options here you could have gone for. Now bare arms would be a pretty straightforward one if you just want to carry more different weapons, or what I probably would go for after a while is traveling pharmacy, just because on this occasion I have very little amount of chems with me, just like 20 stim packs or so. I didn't really find that I used more of them though, or needed better. So yeah, therefore it wasn't necessary, but I know myself, if I would play this build for quite a while, I would start to stack up on stim packs that I never use and be over encumbered all of the time. But I think you get the point here. You could also just not use any perk here and go with 11 strength and be rather fine. So keep that in mind for when we're going for the legendary perks. We obviously, as always, have some that increase our stats and therefore give us access to more perk points. And yeah, lock and load is definitely one of those that you could definitely live without. So that would spare you like 3 perks, so 3 points of legendary perks. Then we go over to perception, and I went for fire in the hole and grenadier here. As I said, I wanted to use or incorporate grenades into the build, which, as I said, I tend to forget quite a lot because I'm not using them often, but once I'm getting back into the habit of using them, they're actually a lot of fun, or can be a lot of fun if you're using the right ones, or just yeah, fool around, want to get rid of them. So yeah, that's why they are here, and Grenadier obviously improves the explosion radius, making them way more effective, and fire in the hole, yeah, just gives you this throwing arc. I really never went for more than rank 1 in fire in the hole, because I just find that I don't really use it over that kind of ranges. Funnily enough, even with fire in the hole, if you're really going for a long range throw, you're basically not seeing where your arc is ending up, because you have to look so high up in the sky already at such a high angle. So therefore, yeah, further ranks of fire in the hole are pretty much useless in my eyes. I really just wanted to have the throwing arc, that's it. Then we go over to endurance, which is very layback and mediocre. We do have fireproof, obviously, just because yeah, we are in power armor, so we don't have access to a dense chest piece, and we are experimenting with explosives here and there, so it might be a sensible option, even if it would be a sensible option anyways, just thinking about suiciders, exploding cars, and so on. And yeah, the other 4 points went into Life Giver, and to be completely honest with you, I just made up the whole build basically and put leftover perks into Endurance just to give us a bit more endurance, and Life Giver was the thing that was fitting in there nice, always a good benefit. 45 more health points. As mentioned in previous builds, it's hardly the most efficient perk to use in terms of value between perk points invested and outcome. There's other options you could go for, but in Power Armor there's quite a few options I would usually rank higher than Life Giver that just don't bother me, like Adamantium Skeleton, just because limb damage isn't a thing in Power Armor to begin with, and Ghoulish, you're not getting a good amount of healing going on even around the Fissure side, unless you are really in a nuke zone. There you get some good healing from Ghoulish even in Power Armor, but other than that, yeah, I went with Life Giver, live with it, it's my channel, I can do what I want, right? So moving on, Charisma, the Holy 7 Charisma, rank 3 of Tenderizer, very fast firing weapon, so obviously it's good, and Lone Wanderer for extra AP refresh and a little bit more tankiness, so what's not to love about that? Yeah, not a lot to say here, I guess. Tenderizer obviously good. 10% more multiplicative damage after the first shot, and we will always use more than one shot, so it's pretty much always in effect when we are fighting. And just to switch things up a little bit, I'm often going for a bit more intelligence than on my other builds when I'm going into Power Armor, but on this occasion I really just wanted to have it maxed out. And what I went for was obviously Stabilized. This was a very obvious choice. I mean, if you are a heavy gunner and you want to use Power Armor, there's no good reason not to use Stabilized. It makes the gun so much more accurate, and 45% armor penetration is huge, gives us a huge benefit in terms of damage output, so yeah, Stabilized had to be there. Then with batteries included, this is one of those perks you could definitely live without. Yet again, you're not burning through fusion cores all that fast, just because, yeah, we're not using VATS, we're not using a whole lot of action points to sprint, because we have Power Sprinter, which we will see when we're looking at legendary perks. So you could definitely live with just carrying around 3 to 4 fusion cores, and at that point, while they are heavy, they wouldn't weigh you down too much. You have a lot of carry weight, so you could live without batteries included. I just still wanted to have it here, just for the convenience, so I can pick up pretty much every single fusion core I do want, and never having to worry about using my jetpack a little bit more than usually, maybe. Then we do have Demo Expert. This one's pretty straightforward. Now it does improve the damage output of our weapon directly, just because we have an explosive version. However, it also does improve the damage of our explosives quite heavily, so that's why Demo Expert is there, obviously. And that left us with 4 more perk points to spend, and I went with rank 4 of Gunsmith on this occasion. Now, it's a bit of an investment, to be honest. Like, usually you want to have rank 5 Gunsmith, at least access to the card so you can swap it in when you're crafting and so on, and that means that in addition to that you want to have rank 4 Gunsmith for this build, meaning you would have to spend 9 perk points overall for your Gunsmith perks, which is quite excessive. But on this occasion, if you really want to dedicate your whole build to something like this, you could easily get away with rank 4 of Gunsmith, for the simple reason that there's no crafting need to be done on your weapon. It comes equipped with all the mods. You can't change anything except the prime receiver, as I mentioned. So yeah, you don't need max Gunsmith for any smithing, unless you really want to use other heavy weapons. So yeah, that's it. But yeah, a lot of explanation here, and probably everyone could afford to just go for rank 4 and rank 5 of Gunsmith anyway. So yeah. Then we go over to Agility, which is pretty much mediocre, just Action Boy and Adrenaline. So we are at 8 here. Adrenaline, always a good pick. I'm not going to explain a whole lot about it. It's just within pretty much every fight you do end up killing more than a few enemies, and also in short succession. So you pretty much always have some extra damage going on from Adrenaline, therefore it's a really good perk in my eyes. And Action Boy, well, as I said, we're not making any particular use of Action points in this build. When we are flying around in our jetpack, just from ledge to ledge or something like that, a little bit of AP refresh from Action Boy and Lone Wanderer is nice to have. It never hurts. And yeah, that leaves us with Luck, where we are going to go for rank 3 of One Gun Army. Bit of a stagger chance, bit of a chance to cripple a limb with heavy weapons, which we are obviously using. Now, I'm not entirely sure, like, when it comes to other perks, what is it, Tank Killer and so on, the stagger chance is reduced for automatic weapons. It doesn't work all that well anymore. The numbers are kind of misleading here, and I guess it's the same for heavy weapons. But still, at least the stagger chance, I feel like you have a good man-stopping power with this weapon. Not that it would matter too much, just because most enemies go down way too quickly to notice if they are staggered or crippled in any capacity. But it does help when you're fighting something like, as I said, Earl Williams or Scorchbeast Queen, going for the legs or the wings. You can do that to some extent, especially when they are in low range. So yeah, you have an easier time crippling their limbs. It's just as straightforward as that. And yeah, as I said though, the staggering is a more convenient part here. And lastly, we do have Ricochet, pretty much one of the better defensive perks in my eyes, just a straight up 18% chance to reduce enemies' incoming ranged attacks. So yeah, it's quite good in my eyes, and also I really like it on power armor characters because it feels rather fitting. Like this pling pling noises that it makes really works well if you're on power armor standing in the middle of a field and you hear that ricocheting shots going off. It just feels very much like you are in a tank. So not that I'm knowing how it feels to be like in a tank, you get the point, I guess. And yeah, all that being said, leaving us with our legendary perks. And as always, we have some boring ones here, charisma, intelligence, and endurance. So one word right ahead, charisma is always a dumb choice. If you have the option, always go for something else than charisma, because it doesn't boost your passive capabilities of charisma, which is sharing perks in a team. So you can share more perks due to legendary charisma, which is to this day very stupid in my eyes. But on this occasion, it didn't really matter, just because yeah, I am on a solo build, so it doesn't make a difference here. But you could probably have, yeah, you could use anything else. And intelligence is already maxed out at 15, so this boosts up our passive intelligence from 15 to 17, which is nice, and put on 2 more from our helmet. So yeah, this just gives us a little bit more experience. And lastly, we do have endurance. This one, as charisma, just gives us access to a little bit more perk points. Then we do have electric absorption, just because it's a must-have on every power armor build in my eyes. There's not a single good reason why you wouldn't want to use it. Having a chance to occasionally refill your fusion core, recharge it, sorry, but also, and more noteworthy, having a chance to heal you when that happens, and that makes enemies like Assaultrons and so on just pretty much not a problem. And furthermore, in situations where you are fighting super mutants or so, there's always going to be a guy with a laser rifle, so you do get some healing every now and then. Then I have Ammo Factory, which is one of those perks. I know the smartest thing would probably be to just craft a ton of ammo in one go, swap it out, and not bother crafting ammo for quite a while. But I personally have found that when I am playing for longer periods of time with characters that do require a lot of ammo, I find it nice to have Ammo Factory active at all times, just so when I feel the desire, I can just craft a bunch of ammo. It's, as I said, not the most efficient thing to do, but yeah, it spares you to have to basically waste 2 perk points every now and then. So yeah, that's basically just it. And lastly, we do have Power Sprinter. Now, this is one of those that's not necessarily the best legendary perk in the world, but I just found it pretty nice to sprint for longer in power armor. That's basically all it does. Now, if you really want to go for a little bit more damage, you could throw in stuff like far-flung fireworks here, which occasionally makes enemies explode, which is kind of fun, but I never really found that reliable enough to actually be useful in my eyes. And if you're not going for a solo build like I did here, you could just not use Lone Wanderer, but rather use something like Strange in Numbers, and I'm sure you find something else there, and go for taking one for the team, which would give you a lot more damage. But yeah, since we're running with a solo build here, that's what we ended up doing here, and I just wanted to have another perk that specifically benefits power armor usage, just because power armor is such a cornerstone of what we're doing here. And yeah, that was it. I hope you enjoyed it, guys. Bit of a boring character, maybe. Like, there's not a whole lot of crazy stuff going on here, but I still found it very unique to play with for some reason. It definitely felt different to, let's say, an Executioner's 50 cal or something like that, and I had a ton of fun with it. I hope you enjoyed it, and yeah, see you next time, guys. Bye.